Hello everybody, welcome to this lesson on adding and subtracting fractions. Please pause the video and copy down the title and the learning objective. Now that you have done so, please put your pen down and listen to the explanation. We're going to start with my favorite topic of adding pizza slices. So, we all know that if we have a half of a pizza and I add it to another half of a pizza, I get, that's not what I wanted, I just want half of a pizza, I get a full pizza. So a half plus another half gives me 2 halves, which is the same as a whole pizza. Easy enough. Now, if I get a quarter, still have a quarter, and I write it as 1 out of 4, and I add this quarter to another quarter, I get the first quarter there, and I add the other quarter here, so that is the same as 2 quarters, and as you can see, that is the same as a half. We all know that 2 quarters is the same as a half, because we know that when we simplify fractions, we divide both the numerator and denominator by the same number, and in our case 2 divided by 2 is 1 and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So all this is simple enough. It gets a little trickier when I have to add a quarter to a half. So if I write down a quarter, add it to a half, well, it gives me this sort of a pizza. But I don't know how exactly to write my answer. Do I write it in quarters or do I write it in halves? It's quite tricky. So this is why we need to learn how to add fractions using the LCM. If I go back to my learning objective, it says I will use the LCM of the denominators to add and subtract fractions. And this is what I mean by that. So if I have this half split into quarters, so instead of a half, I have now 2 quarters. It's so much easier for me to add the answer. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3 of those. So I have 3 quarters. So I now can tell that a quarter added up to a half is exactly the same as a quarter added up to 2 quarters. And that gives me 3 quarters. You might ask, where did the 2 quarters come from? It came from the half, because a half is equal to 2 quarters. I just showed you on the picture here. But now that the denominators are the same, we can add the fractions. The sentence that I want you to copy down is this one here. To compare, add, or subtract fractions, the denominators must be the same. If they are not, you must make them the same using LCM. Please pause the video and copy the sentence down. Now that you have copied it down, let's do a couple of examples together. I want you to put your pen down and listen to me. So for example 1, I'm going to take two fractions with the same denominator. So I have a 6 added to 2 6. You're going to ask yourself, are my denominators the same? If the answer is yes, all you do is add the numerators. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 6 remains the same. So your answer is 3 6s. You see if you can simplify by cancelling down. We have done that before. 3 goes into both those numbers. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So the answer is a half. Let's grab a different example. So on example 2, I have now got a 6, and I'm going to add my 6 to a third. Every time you add or subtract fractions, you ask yourself, are my denominators the same? In this instance, no, they're not. So you must make them the same. The sentence that you copied earlier, it says if they are not, you must make them the same using the LCM. LCM stands for lowest common multiple. So we need to find the lowest common multiple of 6 and 3. Now multiples of 6 are 6, 12, and we wait to see the 3's. 3 is 3, 6, 9. We don't need anymore because we have the 6. So we're going to write both these fractions using the LCM. The first fraction used to be with a denominator of 6 and is still a 6, so nothing changed. I'm going to put the 1 there because nothing changes with this fraction. Now the second fraction, I had a third, and it ended up going to a 6. What happened to the 3? It got multiplied by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 1 times 2, 2. A third is the same as 2 6s. So instead of writing here a third, I'm going to write 2 6s because I need the denominators to be the same. Now I ask myself, are the denominators the same? The answer is yes. So I can just add the numerator, and that is my answer. Please pause the video and copy down the examples. Okay, now that you have copied the examples, we're going to do one more together. I'm going to ask you to add 2 7s plus 3 out of 21. What is the question that you're going to ask yourself? Well done. Hopefully you said, are the denominators the same? My answer is no. So what do we do next? Make them the same. Make them the same. And my next question is, how do I do that? So your answer should be using LCM. Okay, let's do just that. First thing, we're finding the LCM of 7 and 21. Multiples of 7. 7, go with me, 14, next one, 21, and we stop because it appears that we have our number. And the multiples of 21 is 21. We do not need any more because we have our number. Now that we have our number, what do we do with it? Well done. We need our denominator to be the same. And in our case, we need it to be 21. So we write the 21 down. Now you ask the question, how did 7 go to 21? How did this 7, let me circle them for you, this 7, you went to 21. How did it do that? So what is the fraction that is equivalent to this other one with a denominator 21? So I did 7 to 21 times 3. And whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top times 3. 2 times 3 is a 6. So we know that up here would be a 6. Now you ask yourself, what about this other fraction? How am I writing it? It was a 21. It still is a 21. Because I didn't do anything to it, I write it as it used to be. Now you ask yourself the question, what do I do next? Are my denominators the same? Now they are, so I just add the numerators. 6 add 3 is a 9. And that is my final answer for that sum. Please pause the video and copy down the last example that I did, including the questions that I asked. And the questions that I mean are these ones here, because they are very, very important on the process of adding or subtracting fractions. Now that you've copied the example, there are below some questions for you to do. Please pause the video and have a go at these questions. When you have finished, you may play the video for the answers. Just this 4 and 5, 10 of them. Welcome back, everybody. Please pick up a purple pen and mark your work. As you can see, I have found the LCMs for each question before I make the denominators the same. And then, as always, just add the numerators. It's exactly the same process. If you were to subtract fractions, you'd find the LCM, make the denominators the same, but instead of adding the numerators, you just subtract them. Thank you for listening, and see you on the next video.